Lenovo ThinkPad X13s review. On the surface, this laptop looks almost exactly like the Lenovo ThinkPad X13s. However, this version has been made from recycled magnesium instead of aluminum, and it's finished in black rather than silver. There are some external changes, especially in terms of the touchpad, which are minor when contrasted with the radical changes hidden inside. The Z13 used an AMD Zenith processor, but Lenovo doesn't make any models using either of them. At its core, this machine is powered by a Qualcomm Snapdragon 8CX Gen 3 compute platform, which is built on the ARM technology that powers most smartphones and tablets today. It has 8 cores clocked at up to 2.8 GHz, and here it uses an ARM version of Windows 10 Pro. Because this version of Windows doesn't support x86 processors, it relies on emulators to run x86 and x64 applications. This version of Windows runs natively on ARM devices, but if an app isn't optimized for ARM, it may perform slower than native. So the problem with the word many is that in our testing we found that some older x64 applications did not work because they were too old for the new architecture. If you're developing an ARM platform, the X13s low power consumption and long runtime make them ideal for mobile devices. Lenovo quotes an implausible 28 hours of standard usage and 49.5 hours for video playback from its modest 49.5 watt-hours battery. Therefore, what the X13s offers is a slightly compromised version of an otherwise excellent product. If you're willing to work with its limitations, however, it could be worth considering. For some reason, it only has USB-C ports and no Type-A ports. It's a long way from the rather sad ARM-powered Surface devices that Microsoft used to offer, but it's still not a PC in its purest form. And those looking for a gaming or CAD experience should avoid it. It'll cost you quite a bit of money if you buy an ARM-based computer. However, the US version of the iPhone XS Max comes with 8GB of RAM and 256GB of storage. Whereas the only British and Australian models come with 16GB and 512GB of SSD space. It doesn't compensate for the price difference, however, when purchasing a computer with 16GB of RAM in the United States, you need to spend at least $1,300. The top US SKUs are priced at $1,570, come with 16GB of RAM, and a Qualcomm Snapdragon 855 plus 2.0 GHz octa-core CPU. Note that the RAM in these computers is soldering in place, so buying a computer with 8GB or 16GB of RAM and then upgrading it to 64GB isn't possible. It's essentially the same shape and almost exactly the same weight as the Z13, but it's made of magnesium rather than aluminum. It has a matte finish and looks very professional. On the underside there are no screws, so we couldn't get underneath to see if it was actually metal. It has no fingerprint attraction coating, but it still looks good. When opening the case, the X13s keyboards are slightly smaller than the Z13s, which provides extra room for 2 Dolby audio speakers. It's an okay laptop, but there are better options out there if you want something really good. Unlike most ThinkPads, which have a dedicated fingerprint reader button, the power button serves both purposes on the X13s. On other models of Lenovo ThinkPads, there are 2 display options, but both are at 1920 by 1200 resolution. However, on the X13, there are 3 display options, and each is at 1920 by 1200 resolution. We tested our display against its competitors using a variety of benchmarks. It performed well across most tests but not quite as well as some of the competition. The screen is bright and clear, and the coating prevents reflections from making it hard to see outdoors. Above the screen is an 8MP camera with a privacy shutter. We know exactly why an electronic shutter is preferable to a mechanical one. An electronic shutter can be bypassed simply by pressing a button. That's not possible with a mechanical shutter. With the addition of an infrared sensor, Lenovo's ThinkVision X1 Ultra offers support for Windows Hello or similar biometric authentication systems. One of its most controversial features is that the only USB port is USB-C, and there's just one of them. If you didn't get it, the hint is that a USB-A/USB-C hub or dock is needed for those using multiple peripherals with their X1 Carbon 13.